he's drinking again.
By the way, I just want to say one thing. You know, you say that you might want to write a book or about you, and you tell your own stories, the real stories, which is memoir. That's the definition of memoir, is a story, a book that's told only from your point of view, only what you saw. And remember, so you don't have to remember it right, because it's a memoir and it's memory. And in a court of law, memory counts as not fact, but memory. So what I'm saying to you is, all your stuff is recorded. You're recording this, either tape or video. So you could write a book real easy because it's your stuff. You're doing it your own stuff. I always have to call the podcaster and say, can I use it? I got to find it. I got to make appointments and stuff. So you can take all your stuff and put it on tape. Well, I think it's on tape because of this. Yeah. And get it typed out with this Microsoft thing, and you got your book. And then you just go over and tweak it, make it readable, not listenable, but readable. There's a difference. And that would be real easy. I mean, that wouldn't take 6 months. That would take a couple of, maybe 2 months, maybe. It's just going over it, because you got to read it.
You know what? Thank you for that gym right there and that layup. And sometimes I think, who the hell am I? I don't, but just the simple fact of every individual has a story.
You bet.
It doesn't, like you said, memory doesn't count as fact. Simple stuff. I was adopted. Biracial.
But that's interesting. Your adoption is interesting. That right away.
Right. Yes.
I mean, in other words, if you wrote, first of all, I think memory is a great coach, because the first thing you remember is the stuff that hits you the hardest, where there was an emotional connection. And that's what you remember. Oh, I remember when I was adopted. Yeah, well, I want to read about that, because there's an emotional content just by the definition of what you're talking about. I mean, if you say adoption, there's an emotional hit. Could be very subtle, but that's different. So what I did was I used my memory to guide me. What I could remember would be important, because I remembered it. There was an emotional content to it. When my father, beat me, I remember that, because emotionally I remember that.
Absolutely.
And that's what people want to hear. Or when I had to go rescue my girlfriend from bad times, there's an emotional content to that. People want to hear what they are attracted to, want to read about, go see in a movie, podcast, is emotional. Oh, is that what you're talking about? I can hear that. Did you hear that? That rumbling. Yeah. But anyway, but you have that already, because they're your stories. You're telling them from the heart, I would imagine. You seem to be like a sincere person. And that's, so it doesn't matter if you're famous or not. It matters that and that's what good writing is. It turns out that's what people tell me. I never wrote a book before. I mean, these were all the first 2 books that I mentioned were just things I wrote about in my own spare time, never thinking of being a writer. It's just, I had a lot of time in between acting. And so I would sit at the typewriter. That's how long ago it was, typewriter. And I would type out these things and just put it in a drawer, never thinking of selling them. Then when I became famous as an actor, I thought, well, I'll put them into a book. It was just a collection. It wasn't writing. It was a collection. Put it in a book. And I published both of them myself. And they sold a couple, but nothing big deal. But there was no emotional content to them. I just was writing, fairy tales, stories. But then when I wrote the book and I started to, call this podcaster and say, why don't you record these? The memories I had about my real life, there was an emotional content to everything, because it was my memory. And I remembered the things that had that content. And it turned out when people read my book and called me, like my friends, they said, hey, man, they didn't say, I really loved what you were writing because of the emotional content. Nobody ever said that. What they said was, Larry, you're a really good writer, man. You're a good actor, but you're just as good a writer, man. That's great.
Yo, what's going on, guys? If you like this video, click above. We got 2 more right there, or down there, or somewhere. Hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more content. We got amazing interviews like the one you've just seen or the clip you just seen. I don't know what you watch because I put this behind the end of every video. So stay tuned. Hit that like, subscribe. Harry's drinking again. It goes up.